Well, were you funny with your buddies? Did all your buddies act like you're hysterical?
Yeah, somewhat. I was kind of this little dumpy fat kid, and I wasn't succeeding in anything as a kid. I didn't see anything that I would be really good at. Yeah, I guess I made people laugh when I was a kid.
Yeah.
I remember a huge laugh I got in, I think it was like 3rd grade or something, and the teacher was talking about the different parts of the skull. You know, the skull has like 2, 3 bones in it. I don't remember what they are. And the teacher said, does anybody know the other one? And I said, the noggin. And they laughed a lot.
It's like the greatest thing to get those laughs in school, too, when you're not supposed to.
No, the first time I really killed, I was in 5th grade, and we did Free to Be You and Me, the hippie fucking liberal play.
Right.
And, which I didn't know at the time I was being used for hippie purposes, but... we had a really mean teacher who was really tough, and I grew to like her, but she would like the instant the kids were leaving, she'd light a cigarette. Like, you always smelled cigarettes when you walked out of a room. She was so stressed out. So she made us do Free to Be You and Me, and she told me to do a poem called Don't Put Your Horse in a Nightgown. It's an absurd poem, and I had to stand in front of the curtain, like in vaudeville when somebody does a solo act, while they're setting something up, and do this poem, and I couldn't remember it. And every rehearsal, I'd start, don't put your, and she'd go, louder! And she'd scream at me and say, if you don't know this, you're going to look like an idiot, and you're going to ruin the play. And I was so scared, and I drilled it and tried to memorize it, and then I came out for the play, and I'm looking at everybody's parents and the whole school, and I took a breath to start talking, and I just started fucking laughing. And they laughed. And then I started laughing again. And I was up there for like 10 minutes just laughing. And the place was going nuts. It was like a huge, when I walked off, just huge applause. And I went backstage and all the other kids were, you ruined the show. You ruined it. You're awful. You stink. And nobody would talk to me for about a week after that.
So, was it tough being up there? Were you like, hey, I'm getting laughs through my own personality?
I was high off my head, and I loved it. I felt bad when the kids hated me for it.
Sure.
There was part of me inside going, fuck you, little faggots. Fucking, I just killed. What did you do?
Yeah.
Pretending to be a baby and know everybody was yawning, asshole.
You know, nobody wants to see the other performer kill. It's always rough, even at a young age.
Yeah, nobody wants to follow that. Exactly.
So in school, were you the class clown? Were you the wise ass?
Not really. I had ADD a lot, I think, or I don't know. I don't think it's that simple. But I was just, I was a bad student, and I fell asleep a lot. I had low energy. I was kind of fat, sugar, low energy. And I remember being depressed a lot. So I wasn't that funny to other kids, I don't think.
Really?
Yeah.
But in the back of your mind, you said, I want to do this. How did you get up on stage first time?
I was in high school, and I was listening to the radio, to WBCN in Boston, and they used to have 5 o'clock funnies. And so they had a guy on named Chance Langton, who was a comedian in Boston, and just a local, I didn't know there was local comedy. I thought it was just those huge guys with albums. And all of a sudden I'm listening to this guy who's really funny, and then they came on and said, that's Chance Langton, you can see him this weekend at whatever, at the Comedy Connection. And by the way, if you go to Stitches on ComAb on Sunday nights, you can go on, anybody can go on. It was open mic night. Just show up and sign up. And so I started to try to think of 5 minutes. And I thought I had an hour of amazing material. Like, I literally thought, like, I've got so much shit, and I'm going to go up and blow them away, and I'm going to be a star tomorrow, like next week. Like, I'm making my plans. I don't have to do any homework. I mean, I'm going to be a huge star. Because I also pictured I'd be the only one, and I pictured all these, like a guy with a cigar, who's the new kid, you know? I'd be like, this is the kid, and all these grown-up comics would be like, but I get there's a line of really competent comedians who are just doing open mic night. Right. And there was a lot of competition. But I got on stage, and I did a minute and a half to total silence. Every single thing I did was a terrible idea. Just total. And also, I'm looking at a bunch of grown-ups drinking. These are like people in their 20s and 30s, like Boston fucking bar drunks. And I'm trying to make them laugh, and it was one of the worst things to date that's ever happened to me. Was the first time I ever went on stage. And I was so ashamed, and
Do you remember any of the jokes or anything that you were doing?
Yeah, I can't. I remember all of it. I remember the whole set.
But it's kind of like I just asked you, hey, tell me about the time you were molested when you were
exactly. Oh, well, like you could just I was about 14 and my dad fucked me in the ass. I think it must have been fall because it was, the Red Sox were in the playoffs, I remember, and I jizzed on my face.
I think it's good to have some scars that don't heal.
Absolutely.
The pain is still there.
To me, that's what started a pattern of my whole life, which is survival of failure.
Mm-hmm.
And I think if you can go to places and fail and come out intact, you've got a huge wealth of information.
Sure.